Hello, my incredible English learning family. Welcome back to Avenue of Words, where we don't just study English, we unlock the doors to new versions of ourselves. Today, I want to share something that will change how you think about English, learning forever. Something that took me years to discover, and something that has transformed the lives of thousands of English learners around the world. You know that feeling when you understand every word someone says in English, but somehow, you still feel lost? Or when you know the grammar rules perfectly, but your confidence disappears the moment you need to speak? I've been there. We've all been there. But what if I told you that the difference between English learners who struggle for years and those who break through isn't talent, isn't age, isn't even time spent studying? The difference is something I call the English confidence code. 10 powerful secrets that shift everything. Not just your English skills, but your entire relationship with learning, with challenge, with becoming who you're meant to be. These aren't typical study tips. These are life principles disguised as English lessons. They're mental strength builders wrapped in language learning techniques. So find a quiet space, grab something to write with, and prepare to discover the code that changes everything. Because by the end of today's journey together, you won't just be a better English learner. You'll be a stronger, more confident, more resilient version of yourself. Let's unlock your English confidence code together. The first secret that changes everything is this. You must decide who you are in English before you decide what you'll say in English. Most English learners think about language like this. I am your name from your country, and I'm trying to learn English. But confident English speakers think like this. I am an English speaker who happens to be learning and growing. Do you hear the difference? It's not just words, it's identity. When you identify as someone who is trying to learn English, every mistake feels like evidence that you're not good enough yet. Every difficult conversation feels like proof that you don't belong in English spaces. But when you identify as an English speaker who is learning and growing, everything changes. Mistakes become part of the journey. Challenges become opportunities to prove your resilience. Let me tell you about David, one of my students. For 2 years, he introduced himself by saying, "Sorry, my English is not very good." Every conversation started with an apology for who he was. Then we worked on shifting his identity. Instead of, "Sorry, my English is not very good," he learned to say, "I'm David, and I love learning through English conversations." Same person. Same English level, but completely different energy. Within 3 months, people were telling him how confident and articulate he seemed. Your English identity is not about perfection. It's about ownership. It's about claiming your place in the English-speaking world, not as a visitor, but as someone who belongs. Here's your English identity exercise. For the next week, introduce yourself in English not as someone who is learning English, but as someone who communicates in English. Feel the difference in your body, in your voice, in your confidence. You are not becoming an English speaker. You already are one. You're just getting better at it every day. The second secret of the confidence code is understanding that English fluency isn't just about translating words. It's about translating emotions. Most English courses teach you to think like this. How do I say word from my language in English? But fluent English speakers think like this. How do I share this feeling in English? There's a world of difference. When you translate words, you're always one step behind your own thoughts. When you translate emotions, you're speaking directly from your heart. Here's what I mean. Instead of thinking, how do I say saudade in English? Think, how do I express that bittersweet longing for something beautiful that's no longer here? Instead of, how do I say higa in English? Think, how do I describe that cozy feeling of contentment and warmth? The magic happens when you stop looking for perfect word-to-word translations and start finding ways to paint your emotions with English colors. I learned this lesson in a powerful way. I was trying to explain to an English-speaking friend why I was sad, but I kept getting stuck on finding the right words. Finally, I gave up on translating and just described the heaviness in my chest, the way the world looked gray, the feeling of carrying something too heavy. My friend understood perfectly, not because I used advanced vocabulary, but because I shared the emotion itself. Your homework for this secret. Every day, describe one emotion you're feeling in English. Not the word for the emotion, but the actual experience of feeling it. How does happiness feel in your body? Where do you experience worry? What does excitement do to your voice? When you build bridges between your emotions and English words, you're not just learning a language. You're creating a new way to be yourself. Secret number 3 is about understanding that confidence in English isn't a feeling you wait for. It's a muscle you build. Most English learners think courage works like this. When I feel confident, then I'll speak English boldly. But here's the confidence code secret. When I speak English boldly, then I'll build confidence. Confidence doesn't create courage. Courage creates confidence. Every time you choose to speak English when you're nervous, you're doing a confidence push-up. Every time you ask a question when you're not sure of the grammar, you're building your courage muscle. Every time you continue a conversation, even after making a mistake, you're getting stronger. Think about it. You didn't wait to feel confident before learning to ride a bicycle. You got on the bike scared, fell down, got back, up, and eventually confidence came through doing. English is the same. I want to share the story of Elena, a student who was terrified of English phone calls. Her confidence muscle was so weak that she would hang up if she heard English on the other end. We started with tiny courage exercises. First, she would call English-speaking businesses just to ask, "What time do you close?" and then say thank you and hang up. 30 seconds of courage. Then she would call to ask about store hours. 1 minute of courage. Then she would call to ask for directions. 3 minutes of courage. After 2 months of building her courage muscle with these micro workouts, Elena called me crying, but they were tears of joy. She had just completed a 20-minute English job interview over the phone. Her English didn't magically improve. Her courage muscle got stronger. Your courage muscle workout. Every day, do one small thing in English that makes you slightly nervous. Not terrified. That's too much weight. Just nervous enough that you feel proud when you finish. Call a restaurant to ask about their menu. Comment on an English video. Ask for help in English. Send an English email. Small acts of English courage, repeated daily, build unshakable confidence. The 4th secret of the confidence code is learning. To find your English flow state, that magical space where English feels effortless and natural. You know what flow state feels like in your native language. It's when you're so absorbed in a conversation that you forget you're even using words. Time disappears. Self-consciousness vanishes. You're not thinking about language. You're just being yourself through language. Most English learners think flow state in English is impossible until they're advanced. But that's not true. Flow state isn't about perfection, it's about absorption. You can experience English flow state at any level when you find activities that completely capture your attention. For some people, English flow state happens when they're singing along to English songs. They're not thinking about grammar or pronunciation, they're just feeling the music and the words together. For others, it happens when they're watching an exciting English movie without subtitles. They're so interested in the story that they stop noticing they're processing English. For others, it happens when they're cooking while listening to English, podcasts, or drawing while thinking in English, or walking while having imaginary English conversations. The key is to find activities where your focus shifts from "I am using English" to "I am doing something I love and English is just the tool." Here's how to discover your English flow activities. Make a list of things you love doing in your native language. Really love. Things that make you lose track of time. Now, one by one, Try doing these activities in English. Reading about your hobby in English, watching videos about your passion in English, talking about your interests in English. Pay attention to when you forget you're using English. That's your flow state. I discovered my English flow state when I started reading mystery novels in English. I was so desperate to know who did it that I stopped noticing the language and just got lost in the story. 3 hours would pass like minutes. That's when I knew I had found something powerful. When you practice English in flow state, several magical things happen. You absorb language naturally without forcing it. You associate English with pleasure instead of struggle. You build stamina for extended English use. And most importantly, you experience yourself as someone who can be completely natural in English. Find your English flow activities. They're your secret doorway to effortless fluency. Secret number 5 is this. Fluent English speakers don't just know words and grammar, they know how to share their story in English. Every person has stories. Funny stories, sad stories, inspiring stories, embarrassing stories. These stories are who you are. And when you can tell your stories in English, you're not just speaking a foreign language, you're sharing your soul. But here's what most English learners do wrong. They try to tell complex stories before they master simple ones. They try to explain their entire life philosophy before they can describe what they had for breakfast. Master storytellers know the secret. Start with tiny stories and build up. A tiny story might be, yesterday I was walking to work and I saw a cat sleeping in the sunshine. For some reason, that made me smile for the rest of the day. That's it. 30 seconds. One small moment. But it's a complete story with a beginning, middle, and end. And more importantly, it reveals something about who you are. When you can tell tiny stories comfortably, you build up to medium stories. When you master medium stories, you can share the big stories that matter to you. Here's your storytelling practice. Every day, identify one small moment from your day that meant something to you. Maybe you helped someone. Maybe you saw something beautiful. Maybe you learned something new. Maybe you felt grateful. Practice telling that story in English, out loud, to yourself, to a mirror, to your pet, to a friend. Focus on making it clear, interesting, and true to who you are. Don't worry about using advanced vocabulary. Use the words you know. Simple words can tell powerful stories. I learned this from my student Maria, who was convinced her English wasn't good enough for real conversations. But when she told me the story of how her grandmother taught her to make bread using simple English words, I was completely captivated. Her story was more interesting than many advanced English speakers I'd heard. Why? Because she wasn't trying to impress with her vocabulary. She was trying to share something that mattered to her. When you develop your storytelling heart in English, people don't just understand your words, they understand you. And that connection, that understanding, is what transforms English from a study subject into a bridge between hearts. Your stories are your superpower in English. Learn to tell them, and you'll never struggle for something to say. The 6th secret of the confidence code is learning to be patient with your English progress in a world that demands instant everything. In our age of instant messages, instant translations, instant everything, English learners often expect instant fluency. When progress feels slow, they get frustrated. When improvement isn't immediate, they question their ability. But here's the confidence code truth. English fluency is like growing a tree, not like microwaving food. It happens gradually, naturally, with patience and consistent care. The most confident English speakers I know aren't the ones who learned fastest. They're the ones who learn to enjoy the process of learning. They understand that every day of English practice is building something, even when they can't see the results yet, like a tree growing roots underground before the branches appear above ground. I want to tell you about Ahmed, a student who came to me after studying English for 3 years. He was discouraged because he felt like he wasn't making progress. "I study every day," he said, "but I still make mistakes. I still don't understand everything. When will I be fluent?" I asked him to listen to a recording he had made when he first started studying English 3 years earlier. When he heard his old voice, he was shocked. The difference was enormous. His pronunciation was clearer, his grammar was better, his confidence was stronger. He had been improving all along, but so gradually that he couldn't see it day by day. That's how English progress works, like watching a plant grow. If you watch every day, you don't see change. But if you compare today to 6 months ago, the growth is obvious. Here's how to practice English patience. Keep English progress records. Once a month, record yourself speaking English for 5 minutes about anything. Save these recordings. After 6 months, listen to your first recording and your most recent one. You'll be amazed at your progress. Celebrate small victories daily. Did you understand a joke in English today? That's progress. Did you express a complex idea, even imperfectly? That's progress. Did you keep trying after making a mistake? That's progress. Remember your English why. Why did you start learning English? What dreams does it help you achieve? When progress feels slow, connect with that deeper purpose. Practice the English patience mantra. I am exactly where I need to be in my English journey. Every day of practice is building my fluency, even when I can't see it yet. Patience isn't passive waiting, it's active trust in the process. It's knowing that your consistent efforts are creating something beautiful, even when that beauty isn't fully visible yet. The most confident English speakers have learned to love the journey, not just dream about the destination. Secret number 7 is the power of curiosity over perfection in your English learning journey. Most English learners approach the language like this. I need to get this right. I need to avoid mistakes. I need to sound perfect. But confident English speakers think like this. I wonder what I'll discover today. I wonder what this word means. I wonder how this person will respond if I try to express this idea. Curiosity makes English learning an adventure instead of a test. When you're curious, mistakes become interesting instead of embarrassing. When you don't understand something, it becomes a puzzle to solve instead of evidence of your failure. Curiosity is the difference between studying English and exploring English. Let me share how curiosity changed everything for my student Lisa. She was so focused on speaking correctly that she barely spoke at all. Every conversation was stress because she was afraid of making errors. Then I gave her a challenge. For 1 week, your job is not to speak perfectly. Your job is to discover something interesting about English every day. Ask questions, notice patterns, explore how different people use words. The change was immediate. Instead of worrying about her mistakes, she started asking things like, why do you say make a decision but take a break? What's the difference between funny and hilarious? How do you decide when to use the and when not to use it? Her English improved faster in that 1 curious week than in the previous month of careful study. Why? Because curiosity creates engagement, and engagement creates learning. Here's how to unlock your English curiosity key. Become an English detective. When you hear a phrase you don't understand, don't just translate it, investigate it. Where does it come from? How do people use it? What feeling does it create? Ask why questions about English. Why do we say I'm interested in, but I'm good? And why is it on Monday but in January? These questions lead to discoveries. Collect interesting English expressions. When you hear someone say something in a way you've never heard before, write it down. Try to understand not just what it means, but how it feels. Be curious about people's English stories. Ask English speakers about words they love, phrases they use, expressions from their childhood. Everyone has interesting language stories. Turn English mistakes into research projects. When you make an error, don't just correct it and move on. Explore it. Why did you make that mistake? What's the pattern? How can you remember the correct form? Curiosity transforms English from something you have to learn into something you get to explore. And when learning becomes exploration, fluency becomes inevitable. The eighth secret of the confidence code is understanding that English isn't just about communication, it's about connection. Many English learners focus so much on grammar rules and vocabulary lists that they forget the real purpose of language. To connect heart to heart, mind to mind, soul to soul. When you shift your focus from how do I say this correctly to how do I connect with this person, everything changes. Your English becomes warmer, more natural, more effective. Connection happens when you stop trying to impress and start trying to understand and be understood. I learned this lesson in a powerful way during my early English learning days. I was at a party, trying to have conversations with native English speakers. I was so focused on using advanced vocabulary and perfect grammar that my conversations felt cold and artificial. Then I met an elderly man who was sitting alone. Instead of trying to impress him with my English skills, I simply asked about his life. I used simple words, made some grammar mistakes, but I listened with my heart and shared genuinely from mine. We talked for 2 hours. At the end, he said, "You have such wonderful English. It's so natural and warm." I realized that connection had made my imperfect English feel perfect to him. Here's how to build English connection bridges. Focus on the person, not the language. When you're talking with someone in English, put 90% of your attention on understanding them and sharing yourself authentically, and only 10% on whether your grammar is correct. Use connection phrases that show you're engaged. That's interesting. I understand what you mean. Tell me more about. I've experienced something similar. These phrases build bridges between you and the other person. Share something real about yourself in every English conversation. Not just facts, I'm from X country, I work in Y job, but feelings, opinions, experiences. I felt nervous when I was excited about. I believe that. Ask questions that show genuine interest. Instead of just, how are you? Try, what's been the best part of your week? Instead of, what do you do? Try, what do you enjoy most about your work? Practice the English connection mindset. I am here to understand this person and let them understand me. The language is just the tool we're using to build this bridge. When you master the art of English connection, people don't just understand your words, they feel understood by you. And that feeling of mutual understanding is what transforms strangers into friends, conversations into relationships, and English practice into meaningful human connection. Secret number 9 is building your English resilience shield, the mental strength that protects your confidence when English gets challenging. Every English learner faces moments that test their resolve. Someone laughs at your pronunciation. You completely misunderstand an important conversation. You freeze up when you need to speak English in a crucial moment. These moments don't have to break your English confidence. With the right resilience shield, they can make you stronger. Your resilience shield has 3 layers. Layer 1, the perspective shield. This protects you by helping you see setbacks in the right light. Instead of, I'm terrible at English, you think, I'm in the process of becoming great at English. Instead of, I'll never get this, you think, I haven't gotten this yet. Layer 2, the recovery shield. This protects you by giving you a plan for bouncing back quickly from English difficulties. When something goes wrong, you have immediate actions to take. Take 3 deep breaths, remind yourself of your English progress, and identify one small thing you can do better next time. Layer 3, the growth shield. This protects you by turning every English challenge into fuel for improvement. This embarrassing moment is teaching me something important. This difficult conversation is making me stronger. This mistake is showing me exactly what to practice next. Let me tell you about James, a student who had his resilience shield severely tested. He gave a presentation in English at work and made several mistakes. His colleagues seemed confused, and he felt humiliated. Without a resilience shield, this experience might have stopped him from speaking English confidently for months. But James had been building his shield. First, he used his perspective shield. This wasn't my best presentation, but I had the courage to try. That courage is what will make me successful. Then, his recovery shield. He took time to process the disappointment, talked to a supportive friend, and within 24 hours was planning how to improve. Finally, his growth shield. He asked for feedback, identified specific areas to work on, and scheduled practice sessions. 6 months later, he gave another presentation, this time with confidence and success. The same challenging experience that could have destroyed his English confidence became the foundation for building it stronger. Here's how to build your English resilience shield. Develop English affirmations that you repeat when things get tough. I am brave for learning English. Every mistake teaches me something valuable. I am stronger than any English challenge. Create an English recovery routine for difficult days. Listen to inspiring English content. Review your progress journal. Do one small English success to rebuild momentum. Find your English support network, people who encourage your learning. Celebrate your progress and remind you of your strength when you forget. Practice English gratitude. Regularly acknowledge how much courage it takes to learn a new language, how much you've already accomplished, how much you're growing. Your resilience shield doesn't prevent English challenges from happening. It ensures that when they do happen, they make you stronger instead of weaker. The final secret of the English Confidence Code is the most powerful. The ability to see your English future so clearly that it pulls you forward through every challenge. Most English learners focus on their current limitations. I can't express complex ideas yet. I still make grammar mistakes. I don't understand fast native speakers. But confident English speakers focus on their expanding possibilities. I'm becoming someone who can express any idea in English. I'm developing the skills to communicate with anyone, anywhere. I'm building bridges to opportunities I can't even imagine yet. Your English vision is not just about language skills. It's about who you become when you have those skills. It's about the conversations you'll have, the relationships you'll build, the opportunities you'll create, the version of yourself you'll discover. When your vision is clear and compelling, temporary struggles become stepping stones. When you can see where you're going, you can handle any temporary confusion about where you are. I want to share the story of Fatima, a student who came to me feeling completely stuck in her English progress. She had been studying for years but felt like she was just going through the motions. I asked her to spend a week creating her English vision. Not just, I want to be fluent, but specifically, what will you do when you're confident in English? How will you feel? What opportunities will open up? Who will you be able to connect with? How will your life be different? When she came back, her energy had completely transformed. She had envisioned herself giving a TED Talk about her work, traveling confidently as an English speaker, mentoring other women in her field through English conversations, reading English literature for pleasure. That vision became her North Star. Every grammar lesson, every speaking practice, every challenging conversation was now connected to something bigger than just learning English. She was building toward a specific, exciting future. Within a year, she had achieved several parts of her vision. The TED Talk happened. The confident travel happened. The mentoring relationships began. Here's how to harness your English vision power. Create your English life movie. Spend 30 minutes imagining your life with confident English skills. See it in detail. What are you doing? Who are you talking to? How do you feel? What opportunities have opened up? Make this vision so vivid you can almost touch it. Write your English future letter. Write a letter from your future English confident self to your current self. What would that person tell you? What encouragement would they offer? What would they want you to know about the journey? Connect daily practice to future vision. Every time you study English, remind yourself, this grammar exercise is building my ability to give that presentation. This listening practice is preparing me for those international conversations. This speaking practice is developing the voice I'll use to share my ideas with the world. Create English vision reminders. Put pictures, quotes, or symbols around your study space that remind you of your English future. Maybe it's a photo of a place you want to visit, a book you want to read in English, or a quote about the person you're becoming. Your English vision is not fantasy, it's prophecy. When you can see your English future clearly, you start making the choices today that create that future tomorrow. My beautiful English learning family, we've unlocked the 10 secrets of the English Confidence Code together today. But remember, knowledge without action is just entertainment. Transformation without implementation is just inspiration that fades. You now have the code: English identity, emotional bridge, courage muscle, flow state, storytelling heart, patience practice, curiosity key, connection bridge, resilience shield, and vision power. These aren't just English learning techniques. They're life principles that will make you stronger, more confident, and more resilient in every area of your life. Choose one secret that resonated most powerfully with you today. Just one. Commit to practicing it for the next 7 days. Master that one secret, then add another. Your English journey is not just about acquiring a skill. It's about becoming the person who possesses that skill with confidence, joy, and purpose. You have everything you need to crack your English confidence code. The only question is, are you ready to use it? Keep learning, keep growing, keep believing in the incredible person you're becoming. I'll see you in the next Avenue of Words video, where we'll continue building your English confidence together. Until then, speak with courage, learn with curiosity, and remember, your English confidence code is now activated. You've got this, and I believe in you completely.